Hi there. Okay. Um, I had a response to a video not so long ago, um, and it was on a couple of videos, but the one that surprised me was on the Somerville Bowland video. And everybody knows this Somerville, which was brought into the community by SF topologist, sorry, FL topologist, not SF, not San Francisco, FL. Um, and he came up with it, I believe, when he was in Somerville, the town itself. So, um, and I know there's some talk that it was created after a Carrick band, and there's some talk that it was I can't remember which. I'll write it on here afterwards. Um, Myrtle Hitch. I think it was a Myrtle Hitch that he said. But anyway, so if we play Somerville in the way that I normally do, we'll end up with a Somerville in this rather nice rose-colored knothead nylon. And as usual, as you'd expect, this is, very secure knot. Okay, well, feel like it's not going anywhere. What the guy said was surprising to me was, I'll reproduce the comment in the caption, that he said that the knot was dangerous, it collapsed, and I should take the tutorial down because it was going to kill somebody. And I felt that was unlikely, and I asked him to show me using 6mm jute, same as I tied it with, so it was the same material, it was the same size, how we would collapse it. His reply was with, I think, about 3mm paracord, so it was a completely different rope and of a different size. I'm going to recreate what he did, and I'm going to do it with this knothead nylon to show you what's actually happening and why it's happening, because the knot didn't collapse. He said that the knot collapsed. The knot didn't collapse. He was able to move the knot. That's different. That's not the same as a knot capsizing, falling apart. He was able to move the knot, and I'm going to show you how it was done. Because if I pull in this direction, then nothing moves. If I pull in this direction, nothing moves because it's pulling good and tight. This part is pulling very good and tight around the bite here. So, what he did was he took it this way and he pulled in that direction. If you look, he pulled really, really hard. There we go. You can move the Somerville. And eventually you can run it off the bite and it will come apart. But if you had a very long bite and you kept running it, it would actually, because it's taking its length out from inside of here, it would cinch down. Now, let's take a look at what's actually happening with that, because if I do it, it'll only work in this direction. I have to be pulling nearly horizontal to do it. And so there's a trick to it. I'm just going to, there'll be a little cut here while I move the camera a little closer. So I hope you can see this and there's enough contrast. What's happening is, because he's pulling in this direction here, what's happening is this rope is actually pulling this slightly loose. You're having to create space into the knot, and then when you pull, it's moving this way, and it's taking up that, and if we keep going, we will eventually run off the end of the knot. So I pull that back again, you can see this is, the knot isn't really tight. Let me take that twist down. The knot isn't really tight, because what's happening is that this is opening the knot first. Once the knot has been opened, then it becomes with enough pressure possible to make the knot run. Yeah? So remember, this is the thing that's coming loose. I just open it up so that it's like incredibly, incredibly plain to you. What happens is this happens. We pull in this direction, this is pulling this around, it's traveling down the bite, and it's taking the slack from further along, which is making it come tighter and tighter and tighter. Now, eventually, and I'm having, you can see my problem with this saying that it's going to just fall apart, is that I'm having to deliberately deliberately loosen the knot to get this to work on a larger thing, on a larger rope. And I'm not cheating it by using a hugely toothy rope. I'm using knothead nylon here, which is, you know, it's really smooth. It's really quite shiny. Now, I think this is why the guy, when I challenged him, he did his example using paracord, because if I take a length of jute, here we have some perfectly ordinary 6mm jute, such as I would normally use, and I do the same thing around here again, and make a Somerville around my cuff. Oh, I've got a twist. Trying to get a twist in. I'm only doing it on other people. It seems weird doing it on myself. I've done these knots on myself so many times now, it's just unbelievable. So if I take this now and I take this knot as normal, it won't move, won't cinch down. But also take that there so that it doesn't confuse matters. If I do it this way and the same trying to collapse it way, you can just hear the rope just frictioning like crazy. It won't move at all. Try deliberately loosening the knot up and see how far we go once we've taken the slack out, and it binds down again. And that's starting with it deliberately loose. So that's the story of the collapse of the Somerville bowline. It doesn't, in a nutshell, it does not collapse. It doesn't collapse when it's tied as shown in my tutorial. It doesn't collapse when the pull is at 90 degrees, if it's at right angles to where the knot is. Here is the rope, here's the pull. It doesn't collapse at all. It only collapses, well, it doesn't really collapse. Let's not call it collapse. It's movable, it's reducible. You can run it to the end of the bite and get it to fall off if you deliberately pull it only in that direction. It won't just fall apart, it will only collapse if you're doing it deliberately, which I think is a little bit disingenuous to say that it's a collapsing knot and you're going to kill people with it. Nobody should have tutorials of that up. I think that's going over the top. I'm sure the guy meant well, but I think that reaction is going way over the top. The Somerville will not collapse of its own volition. The Somerville will only collapse if you absolutely force it to. I don't like the word collapse here. I'm going to change that. I'm going to say you can eventually force the knot to fail if you do so deliberately. If you are not deliberately applying pressure to make it collapse, it's not going to collapse. It's going to be fine, especially if we do it with jute rather than nylon. Even with nylon, I was having to put a huge amount of force on to be able to move the knot, unreasonable amount of force, and I had to do it in that one specific direction, so we'd have that one very special, specific effect on the knot. And yeah, that's about all I've got to say about that. Thank you.